All right, everyone, thank you for joining. This presentation is about VoiceIT, and we have Miss Sarah and Orly here to introduce you to the VoiceIT app. It's a really awesome app. I've used it personally, and I have good things to say about it, and I'm excited for you all to learn about it. I'm going to stop sharing so that you can share, Sarah.
Awesome. So, hi everyone. So first of all, thank you so much, Ashley, for inviting us to present to all of you today. I'm really excited to talk to you about our technology, and we thought we'd also share a little bit about our journey. So that's why we've kind of titled our presentation Behind the Scenes of an AI Assistive Technology Startup. And we hope that you'll find that interesting as well. And we'd like to tell our kind of personal connection to what we're building and what this adventure has been like for all of us on the founding team and on our core team. And then, of course, we'll jump into the technology and the application itself. So again, so thank you so much. And as Ashley kind of invited all of us beforehand, please feel free to jump in, ask any questions, either by chat or by voice as well. So before we begin, I'll just introduce ourselves. I'm Sarah. I'm one of the co-founders of VoiceITT. We're an international startup, so we are based in Israel. Our developers are in Tel Aviv, in the UK, in Ukraine, in different places in Europe, and we have a growing team here in the US as well. I'm sitting here in South Florida, so a bit of a Southern representation, and I'm here with my colleague Orly as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Orly. I'm a customer success manager at VoiceITT, which means that I get to work with individuals and organizations to actually implement the app in a way that's beneficial for them. And I am also based in the US. I'm in Washington, DC.
And we do want to kind of tailor this presentation to for all of you. So if you feel comfortable to just kind of write your title or something about your role in the chat, we'd love to see that just so we can get an idea of who's on this call and try the best we can to address what we think your interests might be. So jumping right in, VoiceITT really started from a personal experience, and it's quite personal for each of us on our team. In my case, it was my grandmother diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at age 40. So it was early onset, and by the time I was born, she had lost most of her motor capabilities, but more than anything, it was her speech that was affected. And you can see I'm the girl in the red dress in the picture with my family. So I'm about 5 years old there. And even at that age, I could feel how difficult it was for my grandmother to struggle to build a relationship with my brothers and me, a lot because of her struggles to communicate by voice. In the case of our co-founder, our CEO, Danny, his family member had a stroke. So it was a very different kind of situation where someone he was very close with was suddenly found it extremely difficult and almost impossible to be understood by the people around her. And of course, as many of you will be familiar with on this call in particular, the population that we're supporting with our technology is extremely diverse. So whether it's people with degenerative disease like Parkinson's, as in my family, or ALS or multiple sclerosis, or in the case of my co-founder, it was stroke, traumatic brain injury, developmental disorders and disabilities from cerebral palsy to certain forms of autism. What this community has in common is whatever underlying condition affecting their speech. So what we've done, so that was kind of our inspiration to build VoiceITT. So what is VoiceITT? We've built the first speech recognition technology designed to learn a person's unique way of speaking and then translate for them in real time. And that's the app that we're going to walk through with you today. It's the first assistive technology or AAC device designed not just to help someone to communicate, but to help them communicate using their voice. So a quick demo, video demo on how it works. I'll introduce you to Orit. She's a wonderful friend of our company. She speaks 3 languages. She's going to speak in English. It's part of our demo here. She's very extroverted. She's an athlete. She actually represented Israel in the Paralympic Games, as a fun fact. But she struggles to be understood by unfamiliar listeners. She has cerebral palsy. So I'll just show you a recording of her voice.
Now I can start speaking freely.
And now I'll show you how VoiceITT has helped her throughout her life.
So now I can
Now I can
start
start
speaking freely.
speaking freely.
So that's in very brief how VoiceITT works for in-person communication. Now, what we've learned since we started testing our mobile application with organizations and partners here in the US and internationally, because it is personalized to the speaker and can work in very many different languages. What we started to learn is that our app that enables in-person communication, translating in the way that other AAC devices do, we started to understand that our technology can do a lot more. And that's essentially not just being able to communicate with other people, but be able to essentially interact with voice-enabled devices. So basically, very shortly, to communicate not just with humans, but to talk to machines. And of course, we're in a world where voice technology is increasingly mainstream. So whether it's voice enabled or voice activated smart homes, smart assistants, smart speakers, smart cars. If we were in a room together in a physical space right now, I would ask everyone to kind of raise your hand how many people have, an Amazon Echo in their homes right now, or Siri on your iPhones. It's very mainstream. But of course, as many of you will, you'll be aware, many of the people who can actually benefit from it the most, because they may rely on a human caregiver to do many tasks on their own, can't access these devices because they don't have standard speech patterns. So what VoiceITT has done is to enable our technology to be integrated with these mainstream devices, so that people with dysarthric speech, with atypical speech patterns, can access, control, and really benefit from these mainstream technologies. So our first partnership in this space was Amazon Alexa, which we announced last year, one of the major milestones for our company, where VoiceITT is integrated with the Alexa voice assistant. And since then, we've been in discussions with other major technology companies and other companies building products. And our vision is to ensure that these devices can be accessible to everyone, including people with atypical speech. So I'll show you a short clip of how our Alexa integration works, so you can see how VoiceITT can help bring more independence through voice technology. And then I'd love to take any kind of burning questions and then turn it over to Orly to walk you guys through the application and show you kind of what we've designed to be a very intuitive experience, both for users with a complex range of needs, including whether it's only a speech impairment or also motor control impairments or cognitive or literacy challenges. And we'd really appreciate your questions, but also input and feedback. We'll be taking notes through this call as well. And any questions you have or feedback, we'd love to be able to send back to our technical team also. So I'll show you a quick video of one of our first integrations, and then I'll pass it over to Orly.
Hello, I'm Michael.
Hello, I'm Wendy.
And
this is our life with VoiceITT.
They developed this wonderful scene which you will see. Alexa, light on.
Okay.
You have no idea on how many doors you're going to be opening for so many people.
Alexa, TV off.
Like I said, you have no idea how much this means to him. No idea. We waited for this for so long, and we thought that this would never happen. Okay. This is such a wonderful gift in so many ways.
Thanks, Sarah. So I'll just pause. If anyone has questions, feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. And if not, I'll go on and just kind of walk through the app a bit so you can see how the app works and what it looks like.
And just to check in also with Ashley, are we okay on time so far?
Yes, and I don't see any questions right now, except if you'll share your slides at the end.
Sounds great. We just wanted to make sure we're good with time as well. So thank you. Sounds good.
Okay, so I will go ahead and share my screen. And I'll start here. This is what Sarah was discussing. VoiceITT has two modes, the conversation side and the smart home side. The conversation side is used to communicate with other people, for example, at the doctor's office or in a restaurant, taking public transportation, places where someone might be communicating with an unfamiliar listener who won't understand their speech. And then the smart home side communicates directly with Alexa. So it's used to control a person's environment, whether that's turning the lights on and off or controlling the TV like we saw in the video with Michael. We've also had people using it to control their thermostat or open and close blinds. So pretty much whatever Alexa can activate, we can use VoiceITT to allow people to activate in their own environments. So the app starts with an in-app onboarding. So it walks you through the steps of unlocking your first word. And there's different aspects to the app. So the first one is training. And in training, you teach VoiceITT your unique pronunciation. The reason we do this is because VoiceITT uses a closed dictionary model, which means that each phrase that a person wants to use gets trained into the app. The benefit of the closed dictionary model is that anyone can use it regardless of how they speak, regardless of their language. It's really flexible and really designed for a specific individual. We can also use these shortcuts. So for example, you can see here, this in black is what the individual says, and this in lighter gray beneath it is what VoiceIT says out loud and what text it shows on the screen. So you can use shortcuts where here, this person would say David Allen, and VoiceIT would output a longer phrase, my name is David Allen. So that's another benefit to the closed dictionary model. So the first thing you do is training.
Hey, Orly, real quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Someone wanted to know if VoiceIT has plans to be accessible on Android as well.
Good question. Yes, we do. It's a future development that we have in our pipeline. But yeah, that's a good point. Right now, VoiceIT is only available on iOS devices, downloadable through the App Store. So yeah, thank you, Daniel. So this is the first phase, the training phase. You choose the word that you want to say, you tap the button, say the phrase, and then it'll stop listening, and you record yourself about 5 times. And the model will, the app will build like a model of how you sound based on the recordings that you submit. So you'll do this for each phrase that you want to use. Once the word unlocks, you'll be able to use it from the speak mode. So you can see here, this is the dictionary, and you can see that the screen bar has loaded all the way across, and I have this green check mark. That means that this word is unlocked and ready to use. So you can go to the speak tab here. And that's what this is what that looks like. So you have a button to tap to speak, and you have a toggle, so you can say whether you're recognizing conversation expressions or smart home phrases. You'll tap the button, it'll start listening, and then you say your phrase. And once it's recognized, that phrase will show up in text on the screen and be spoken out loud. So that's for the conversation side. In addition, and I can touch on this in a bit, for both conversation and smart home, there's the option to use a wake word. So if you have limited dexterity or mobility, instead of tapping to speak, you can say, hey, Yubi, or Alexa, and it'll do the exact same thing as if you tap. So it'll load and start listening, and then you can say your phrase. So that's the primary components of the app. You train the phrases and you're able to use them, but it's also really customizable so that people can make it work for their lives. So we use scenarios. These are the scenarios that we've created. Introduce yourself, dining out, transportation, to use in different situations. You can also create your own scenario. So we've just started off with these scenarios, and there's phrases in each of these scenarios. And in addition to having those phrases in the scenarios, you can customize any of the phrases, or you can just add your own phrases if these don't exactly sound like you. So for example, if you wanted to customize, you could tap on this phrase and tap edit, and this is what would come up. You would have what you want to say and what VoiceIT will say. And same with the option to edit phrases, or to add or edit phrases. You'll type in what you want to say and what VoiceIT will say, and then save it. So that's the conversation side. The smart home side basically works the same way. It's one additional component where you connect your smart home, you connect your VoiceIT account to your Alexa account. So in the VoiceIT app, if you choose the smart home dictionary, you'll see this screen, and you'll click login with Amazon. You'll get a little pop-up. You can type in your Amazon information, and then you'll get the success message, and you'll know that you've connected VoiceIT with Alexa. You go through the same training process for this. And then instead of reading this out loud, it'll send this command directly to Alexa, and then Alexa will play that phrase out loud. So you can see, you can say Alexa or tap to speak. Once you say Alexa or tap, it'll start listening, and then you can say your command. Just like the conversation side, it has different scenarios. Obviously, they're different because you use the smart home side for different things. You can customize adding or editing commands. Some of the scenarios will ask you questions to set up the commands for you. So For example, in the music scenario, it'll ask if you have a smart speaker, what's the name of your smart speaker, and what kind of music do you want to listen to first? And it'll automatically create a command that fits what you want to listen to for your device. And then we also have the wake word, which I mentioned. It's just another word that you train, but you're able to use it to activate the listening mode for VoiceITT. So it's just like tapping the button, but instead you say Alexa, and it goes to listening, and then you can say your phrase. So that's a quick rundown of the VoiceITT app and how it works. Does anyone have questions? I'll pull up the chat here. Okay, cool. I see that there are some questions in the chat.
So we had two questions. The first one was with the sort of customization of the app. Julie was asking, when training the app, is there an option to have the app tell the user the phrase to speak, and can you change the color of the text?
Good questions. Okay, so the first one, can it say aloud the phrase? Actually, both of them kind of go together. It's accessibility features that are not offered through the VoiceITT app, but are offered through Apple, and VoiceITT is compatible with those features. So, for example, a feature that Apple has is VoiceOver, where you can tap text and it'll be read aloud, and VoiceITT's compatible with that. So if you turn it on in the iOS settings, you can use it to read out aloud phrases in the VoiceITT app. And then changing colors as well can be done through the accessibility settings in iOS, and they will be maintained when you open the VoiceITT app.
So the next question was, do they have phrases to align with what it will speak, or could vocalizations be used as a starter phrase?
So it doesn't, the vocalizations can be used. It doesn't matter what a person sounds like. It just matters that they're consistent. So if someone says Baba to ask, can I have some water? As long as they say that every time, VoiceITT will learn that that pattern and that utterance means, can I have some water? And we'll be able to make that translation.
And then the most recent one is, are there any plans to have this technology used with text-to-speech for writing?
Yeah, good question. So right now, the VoiceITT app is speech-to-speech. Text-to-speech would be more useful for if you could, do spontaneous speech. So right now, because it's dependent on the phrases, it's less useful for speech to text, but it's something that we want to work towards. Sarah, should I go into our newest project? We just launched a new project working towards this.
Yeah, it's a perfect segue, and that's such a great question because it's exactly in line with what our vision actually is, which is not just, our kind of mobile application, but allowing interaction with any kind of use case and all sorts of contexts. So Roberta wrote the question about text-to-speech, but it would be very similar to, for example, transcription for someone, so the person can be understood during a call like this, like a Zoom call, or a student in a virtual classroom or an in-person classroom, and many other kind of similar situations. Transcription of social media posts, for example, or emails is we see as really opening up possibilities for our users, and that goes far beyond what our app, what just an app can do, right? So in order to support that use case, such as speech to text and the others, we'll be launching the next generation of our technology that doesn't require as much training. So yeah, Orly, I'll pass it to you to explain how we'll get to that stage. And I'll also, and maybe just before we do, I think in the next question around how it's learning your speech and an example of that, So just to be clear, the current version can support any level of dysarthric speech. So it doesn't matter the level of unintelligibility, so to speak. And even if the person is not speaking fluently, and this is really, really important for many of our users, the person may not be speaking a full sentence. They may be not kind of having their unique way of, saying a word, whether it's like 1 or 2 syllables. As long as the person's speech is consistent, our technology is designed to recognize their speech patterns. And that's also why it works in any language. The limitation of that, and that's why we're going to be releasing the next generation of our technology. The limitation of the current version, which I think is in many of your minds right now, it's, well, there's a limitation of there's so much training involved in that, even though, at this point, our technology is powerful enough to be able to recognize even after 5 or 10 repetitions of the phrase, it will still be limiting for people who want to speak like spontaneously and freely and without so much training of each phrase. And we've completely recognized that. And that's our next stage. Our next generation of our technology can already do that. But we haven't collected enough data yet to be able to basically release it to the world. So sorry, Orly, I kind of get excited about our plans there, but I'll turn it back to you to talk.
Yeah, well, I'll pick up right where you left off. We haven't collected enough data yet. So this week, we launched a new project to collect the data that we need. It's called Project Ensemble, and it's designed to engage our community in building our technology. They are the foundation of our developments. They have been in the past. And so we really need people's voices to develop this new technology. So we've created a website called it's ensemble.voiceit.com. This is our website, and it has, the main component of it is this recording page where we have a phrase to record. You tap the microphone icon, you say the phrase, what time is it? And then you tap again to stop. And you go through and record 5 phrases. And once you finish those 5 phrases, we'll do that one again. You just submit them. You can see here, you can create an account, and we are offering $100 gift cards for anyone that completes 1,000 phrases as a thank you. We know this takes a lot of time, but it's really, really essential for the next steps in speech recognition for everyone. So that's our newest project.
I have a couple of videos to share of a real life example of someone using it. Give me just a second.
Awesome.
Okay. Oh, wait, hang on. I might need to share my sound. Okay. So this is the first video. I wanted you all to see how long it takes to train one of the phrases. And it takes less than a minute, especially once someone gets pretty consistent with it.
Credit. 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 Credit.
Okay, so that was during the training phase. That is when you are in, the phase. That's when you're in dictionary mode on VoiceITT. And what I want to mention that's nice about it is they've put this big button in the middle of the screen that the user targets to activate so that the app will listen to them. And that's either when you're in speak or dictionary mode, you have this nice big button to press. And so it makes it easier to target. And then the user will go in, select the phrase they want to train. They will record 5 recordings of that phrase. And as you can see, she is just saying the word credit. And then here you'll hear what it spits out when she then asks it to speak the credit phrase. So now she's in the speak mode.
Credit.
I'll pay with a credit card.
Okay, and so these are phrases that were already in VoiceIT. And here's an example of more phrases that were in the shopping category that she could use while she's out and about.
And a color.
Do you have this in another color?
Another size.
Do you have this in another size?
Another.
Okay, and this is an example, let's see here, how you might use it in like a vocational setting. So I know we have a lot of AT evaluators here today, and you might have individuals that either work at a switchboard or are the first person someone sees when they walk into a facility, and they need to be able to direct them throughout the building. And so you can create custom phrases as well. And here we programmed this where she can say hi, and this is what it will say.
Hi, how may I direct your call?
But just a second, the video's got a cycle.
Now try.
This is where she starts.
Hi.
Hi, how may I direct your call?
Okay, and then this one was a fun one we did. If you've ever heard the song, my name is who? My name is what?
Oh. Oh.
My name is who?
What?
My name is what?
The teacher.
My name is Nakisha.
I love that one. And so it's okay. So Nakisha and I have worked together also on Proloquo for Text. She's not the type of user who would necessarily use a communication device with picture vocabulary. She is able to type and read and write. And so we wanted to go with a text-based communication for her. The problem with that is you still have to save the phrases, so it's not different from VoiceIT. You still have to have pre-saved phrases. You can also type in phrases on Proloquo for Text, but it takes longer for someone like Nakisha to be able to go through the Proloquo for Text app and target, because the targets are a lot smaller in the app, and it's a little more difficult to get to the phrases that she wants to use. Whereas on VoiceIT, she can just hit that button, say her activation phrase, and then it will speak out loud for her. So that is a benefit of VoiceIT for sure. And yes, it takes a long time to record all the phrases you might want to use, but it's still quicker in the long run to use this voice activated speech output to communicate, because you don't have to navigate through an app. So I wanted to give that example to you guys. We really like it. Nakisha likes it. She says she really enjoys it. And she actually likes Ensemble too. She went and did the recordings online as well. So we have good feedback.
Thank you so much. That's really, really awesome to hear. Really awesome.
And
Ashley, yeah.
I also wanted to mention to everyone on the call today that VoiceIT is very aware that there are still some kinks. So don't give up on the app, if you're running into some kinks, they want to hear your feedback. So if you'll get in touch with them and let them know that you ran into some issues. Initially, during our first attempt with Nikisha, we had some issues where while we were recording, it was taking a little bit longer for those recordings to actually, they have to upload, right, to your guys's server, I guess. And then it downloads back to your device, and then it can recognize your speech. So it was taking a little bit of time for it to do that, but we also had poor internet signal that day. And that's another point to make, is that while you're recording your phrases and saving your phrases in the app, you have to have an internet connection. But while you're using the app for pre-recorded speech, you don't have to have internet. Am I correct? Okay, just making sure. Wanted to clarify that for everyone. So I think we have a couple of questions. Daniel, do you have a question queue?
Yes, so most of them answered. However, actually all of them were answered. Yeah, Sarah's been taking care of it in the chat actively.
Yeah, I'll just, it is an important question. Alice just asks about recording phrases if the person's only making what I understand to be kind of simple vocalizations. So again, as long as the person's voice has the ability, first of all, for speech production. So if the person is nonverbal, you know, unfortunately, there's not much we can do because we're speech recognition. But if the person is able to vocalize and is essentially consistent, of course, no human, you know, is entirely consistent. But if the person is generally consistent, the machine learning, and that's the artificial intelligence part, will be able to learn the person's speech and be able to recognize what they're saying. And that's the purpose of the initial training phase, where the technology will match what the person is saying with what they've inputted during the training phase. As Ashley kind of alluded to, you know, when you don't need, when you do that initial training, and then they're able to use the application. So even if if they're using 2 syllables, let's say, to express, you know, I need a glass of water, that's completely fine for this version of the technology. It's interesting because the version that we're describing through the Ensemble project, just simple vocalizations will be less relevant, because it's the technology will assume that the person is speaking in fuller sentences, and that's why we're integrating kind of a language model and the grammar as part of it. So that's why we don't see the new technology replacing the old technology, but rather we'll basically have 2 versions of our technology. One is for people that are not people that have severely dysarthric speech, for example, or who may only be making simple vocalizations, and that's their way of speaking. It will need to be very personalized for them, and that's our first version, which we have now. And then we'll have another version for people who have perhaps more mild or more moderate speech patterns, and be able to have consistency in fuller sentences. And for that version,